Hello, and welcome to our third episode of Inner Ear Secrets. Today, we dive into the personal journeys of those who navigate the world with unique hearing experiences. Audra and Sarah, are you ready for some tea?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, let's get started. So, today,
Okay.
we have a very special guest, our friend Avalia,
Hello.
joining us today, who was fitted with a hearing aid in her teens. Avalia, thank you so much for being here today, and welcome to Inner Ear Secrets.
No, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
All right. So, Avalia, can you introduce yourself to our listeners?
My name's Avalia. I'm second year audiology student at Melbourne University. Like Sabrina mentioned before, I had a hearing loss in my teens, so a one-sided hearing loss. So I'm deaf in my right ear and have normal hearing in my left ear. I love going on adventure rides. Like I've been skydiving. I want to go bungee jumping next.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So let's spill the tea then. Let's start from the beginning. Can you tell us how your hearing was affected?
Yeah, so I was in high school and I just remember growing up, I had a lot of ear infections. And I remember one day I was really sick. And then I just remember my right ear. The best way I can describe it is like a door closing, so a door shutting. I was very scared and confused. I didn't know what was happening. Told my family, and we didn't know about audiology or hearing at the time. So we just did, what we knew best, and went to our local doctor. They said it was wax because I had a lot of wax in my ears, and it wasn't that. Then we got moved to an ear, nose, and throat specialist. They did a few more tests. Still couldn't figure out what was happening. They thought a grommet might help because I had apparently fluid behind my ear. So I had that surgery done. It did improve my hearing a little bit more. But then I remember a few weeks after, that was it. It was just completely gone. Then a few more appointments after that. And then I had to get fitted with hearing aids. I was pretty much discharged after that.
There seems to be a lot of elements overlapping in different elements in that as well. Thinking it's wax first and then say, oh, actually there's something behind the ear, getting that, and then the hearing still not coming back after that as well. That must have been such a long process in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely was. Yeah. It went by quickly but also very slowly, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Did you have to wait on the list long to see the ear, nose, and throat specialist?
It was so long ago. I think it wasn't too bad because I think I was a priority or something. It wasn't too bad.
That's good.
Yeah.
How long was the whole process from the start where you described the hearing going with the door shutting and, finally finding out you have a hearing loss and getting those hearing aids?
Yeah, I think it was the whole thing a couple of months.
Oh.
Yeah, I think from all the appointments and getting ENT cleared and then booking at Hearing Australia eventually. I think that whole process took about, a couple, 4 months, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On it quite quickly then, just getting through that process. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Any type of sign in your health that you would be someone who would have a hearing loss?
No, at the time, no. I thought I was, healthy and whatnot. I just found out recently my mum, she has a hearing loss and she just turned 50, so she is still quite young in the sense of not getting a hearing loss. But just found out, talking to her more about it, she had a progressive hearing loss when she was 20. And I think her moving forward, I think it's otosclerosis she has now that's been diagnosed. But I just found that out. But at the time, no, had no idea. Yeah.
And would you be able to tell our audience as to what otosclerosis is?
Otosclerosis is it's kind of a slowly progressive hearing loss. Still research being done about it as to what causes it and whatnot. Some people think there's a genetic component linked to it, but essentially it's when there's 3 little bones in your ear, and essentially those bones start to have a little bit of extra growth on them, so they become more stiff, and that causes your hearing loss to slowly and progressively get worse and worse and worse. But yeah, summarized it.
No, that was perfect.
It was
Yeah.
I guess the next question I have for you is when you first found out that you had a hearing loss, and because you said you didn't know at that time that anyone else in your family had it, how did you feel and what was the emotional process like for you?
Yeah, I honestly, I was really confused and scared at the time. I just was like, what is happening to me? What is going on? And when I was going through the process of the doctors and all those specialists and not getting an answer, I did feel a bit frustrated. Oh, how come you don't know what's happening? Like, you should know what's happening. Also, yeah, I guess there was very little information being told to me because I was a teenager. So I guess my parents got told most of the information and they kept not a lot, but some of it so that way I guess I wouldn't worry as much. But I did feel like, yeah, I was very scared, confused, angry as to what the heck was going on. And not getting the answers was also very frustrating.
Yeah. So I guess based on that, do you wish you were involved in the process of finding out about your hearing loss and managing your hearing loss, even at that age? Do you wish you were involved in that a lot more than you were?
Yeah, I think looking back at it, yeah, I think like there is some good stuff about being left in the dark because you don't have to worry and you think, oh, the grown-ups are going to take care of it. But I think looking back on that, yeah, I think having a lot more knowing about what was going on would have probably put me at ease more.
So, how did your family react to the news initially?
So I think they handled it. I don't know if they were just masking their feelings, but they handled it. I think viewing it from a teen perspective, I think they handled it okay. They were just as confused as I was. I guess they took the steps that they thought were what the doctors and the specialists were telling them. I think they were shocked, but they have the mentality of, okay, this is what it is. What are we going to do now? So they were more accepting of it than I was.
It's always good when the parents are keeping it together.
Yes.
So then it gives other positive feedback to you as well. You can feed off their energy as well.
Yeah, definitely what they did. Yeah.
I know that every child is different, but do you have any advice to families out there and if their child has a hearing loss? Do you have any advice for them on what they can do for their child or how they can react and what was something useful your parents did for you to help you through that time?
That's a good question. I think they were very supportive and like Sabrina mentioned that they were very good at keeping it positive as much as they could. Because I guess when I saw that, then it made me feel less worried and stressed about the whole situation. I guess parents just keep reassuring their child and be there for them as much as they can be. I know being a teenager is not easy and we sometimes don't want to listen to our parents and all that sort of stuff. But just knowing that they're there no matter what, I think is the best thing they can do. Yeah.
It seems with your family, they're very action-oriented in being able to help you out. So that's definitely a positive that other families can take away. Obviously, your personal experience is going to be quite different, but having that support system is quite important.
Yeah.
I'd like to find out more about your experience with hearing aids and wearing them. So far, how far along the track was a hearing aid recommended to you?
It was towards the end of my appointment. So what I remember is like they were trying to identify what the cause was and if medical procedures like a surgery would be able to fix it. And I think it was towards the end of it when not much could have been done through that. They then said, hey, you have to go to Hearing Australia and proceed with these hearing aids. So yeah, it was towards the end of my whole appointment journey. That's what I remember.
I know there's still a lot of stigma around wearing hearing aids. Were you initially resistant to wearing them as well?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, there's stigma, I must admit. Because I guess we got taught in high school about hearing loss, but very generic. We got told as we age, our hearing deteriorates. So I'm just like, okay, so that's that. And when it happened to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought this only happened to older people. Why is it happening to me? I did have a stigma. I was resistant to wearing them. I didn't wear them for a while, actually. I think it was a couple of years. I refused to wear them. I just had that persona, like if I'm going to wear them, people are going to make fun of me because I just saw this type of device on older people. So yeah, I was very resistant. COVID happened, and it was kind of like a blessing in disguise for me because I got to work on myself. And I realized I'm actually putting myself at a disadvantage if I'm not wearing them. And I shouldn't care about what other people think. But I guess that was my mindset in high school because I was around people. You got influenced and you cared about what certain people thought of you. So once I got out of high school, I had to change my whole mindset around, and that's what I did. And I started wearing them more and realized that most people actually don't notice you. So you're actually fine. It's actually okay. And once I got that reassurance that I was able to wear them more. Yeah.
I just wanted to say, I think it's really interesting that we all have this perception that hearing aids are only for people. And then you said that you felt embarrassed wearing it. But I think a lot of us, before we even started the course, we didn't realize that our classmates were wearing hearing aids because you can't see them. I think for the listeners out there and for those who are still deciding if they should wear hearing aids or not, no one's going to say anything. And you should be confident in who you are and what you're wearing because hearing aids is a step forward for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And they make them so discreet nowadays that Avalia's hearing aids, they sit behind the ears. You can have it covered by your hair as well. And there's different colors, there's different styles that you can pick from. So there's really a variety out there.
Yeah.
And if it helps, it's just like wearing glasses. If it helps you see better, it can also help you hear better, then definitely would be a good idea to keep using them.
Leslie, speaking of Avalia, can you tell us a bit more about your devices, what type they are, and did you always have these particular devices? Just a bit of your history about the device itself.
Yeah, so I got introduced to a CROS hearing aid because my right ear has no hearing. My right side would pick up all the sound and then it will transfer it to my good ear. So the hearing aid on my left side will just transfer whatever sound's coming from my right and I can hear it on my left. So it tricks the brain in a way, perceiving it as I'm actually hearing from my right side when in reality what this device is doing is it's just picking up whatever sounds coming from my right side and being able to transfer it to my left so I can hear, essentially, all the sounds around me.
So you've got a microphone on that poorer side, and then that's what's being transferred to the other side.
Yes.
Yeah. And you've always had a CROS?
Yeah, always had a CROS. Yeah. That's what I got introduced to, and that's what I've stuck with.
So for our listeners out there, a CROS device is really helpful for people who have a large difference in their hearing or have no discernible hearing on one side, which is why Avalia has been recommended the CROS and has been wearing the CROS.
I'm really curious to know with the CROS hearing aids, because the sound's being transferred to one side, does it sound like you're hearing from both ears or do you feel like you're only hearing it from one side? How does the CROS sound to you?
That is a good question. I'm going to try and explain it as best as I can. So it does feel like I am hearing from both sides, even though sound is only coming on one side of my ear. I guess it's all about perception. So my brain is perceiving that sound is coming from here, and therefore it's saying like, oh, I'm hearing from this side. So it's training my brain to perceive that sound is coming from both sides. That's the experience I get when I wear my hearing aids versus when I don't have them, then I can only hear sound coming from my left side.
Are there any times where you can't wear your hearing aids? For example, playing sports or anything like that. In the shower, we know that you can't wear hearing aids, but are there any situations where you go out and about and you have to take them off?
I've learnt to know when and when not to wear my hearing aids. So I choose not to wear them when I'm at home on the dinner table. It's just because naturally my family is really loud, so I can hear them more clearly anyway. So I don't need my hearing aids in that situation. I do play a bit of sports, so I don't wear them because I'm afraid I'm going to damage them or break them. And I can hear the people just fine because they are quite loud, so that is good. There are some situations where I felt a bit overwhelmed with the sound. So if I'm at a very loud restaurant or cafe or a concert, for example, I just feel extremely overwhelmed with how much sound I'm hearing. So I take them off in that situation.
What were some of the challenges and adjustments that you had to make with them? once you were fitted?
Getting used to it, because now I'm perceiving sound coming from both sides of my head. Getting used to that, and being able to get used to how much new sound I was picking up as well. So when I went out, even listening in a lecture, for example, and just having people sit on my right side and being able to hear them, I had to adjust to that, because I got a bit of a shock every time someone would speak. Also in a restaurant, just to experience the sounds I was missing out on and trying to not be so overwhelmed with it. So just trying to take baby steps every time. And I got to the point where I could wear them all day, every day, but definitely had to adapt to those really subtle changes.
So what were the specific situations where you noticed a improvement with the CROS?
It definitely helped with identifying where sound comes from, because I'm only hearing on one side. I can't perceive where sound comes from. So my CROS hearing aids definitely helped me in able to identify where sound was coming from. Also, it helped more when I was in a really noisy place. So when I went out to a cafe or a restaurant, it helped to be able to participate and hear more conversations.
Point of audiology and helping people with these devices is to, at the end of the day, help their communication. And it looks like that's been your experience thus far.
Yeah, it definitely has improved. Me with them versus me without them, it's a huge difference. So, yeah.
Avalia, did your friends and family notice a difference in your interactions after you were fitted with the hearing aids? And what were their initial reactions?
They mentioned they couldn't even see them. They didn't even notice I was wearing hearing aids. So that was really good to know. I think it was only when some of my close high school friends in university, they'd notice a little wire and then they'd ask me, oh, what's this? And then I tell them and they'll be like, oh, okay, that's fine. I don't think they noticed much. They just reassured the fact that they couldn't even see it and they couldn't even tell I was wearing them. So I think that was the most I got out of that.
I think that's really good for our listeners at home who maybe are having some stigma towards hearing aids to know that people actually don't really care that much about the fact that you wear a hearing aid. And it's also very discreet, the fact that your friends didn't notice. And for us, when we first met you, we didn't notice at all that you were wearing a hearing aid as well. And even after we found out, it's not a big deal, that something that we would be talking about or be making a big fuss about. So it's definitely good for our listeners to know.
And I guess for the listeners and people who are having hearing difficulties out there, do you have any advice for someone that's going through a similar experience to you?
Just know that you're not alone. I definitely thought that I was the only one in the world that has this type of thing going on. No, you're definitely not alone. There's so many people like you, and there's such a big support network out there as well. And also, if you're around good people, they don't care or make a fuss about whether you're wearing hearing aids or not. So be around those types of people that just treat you as a normal hearing person. That makes all the difference in the world. It makes you feel included. It doesn't make you feel left out. Just know that you're not alone. There's support out there. People are normally nice and don't really care or mind that you have these hearing aids on.
I've got a question for you. So as an audiology student, you obviously know a lot more now about your hearing aids, and you've got the science behind why we do things the way we do. Is there anything about your type of hearing loss or the type of hearing aid you wear? Is there anything that you've learned that surprised you as we've gone along in the course?
Oh, that's a good question. I've learned that there's the statistics for people with a single-sided loss. It's not updated because most people, they either A, don't admit it, or B, doctors can't identify it or misdiagnose it. So that actually shocked me. So the current statistics for the number of people with a unilateral hearing loss is actually less than perceived, because there are people out there who wouldn't even admit it, or they get misdiagnosed by doctors. So that surprised me. Yeah, and there's definitely more devices out there to help with a single-sided hearing loss. I just assumed it was just these hearing aids, but there's other types of devices that can help. For example, there was a new one I discovered, a bone-anchored hearing aid, which I was like, whoa, that's intricate, that's new. And that's a very cool piece of technology. Also, just finding out that there are a lot of unknown causes to hearing loss. So actually, people out there don't know all the answers, like the specialists and the doctors, which is scary, but it means there's a lot more that we need to discover and research about hearing.
It's also good that you're in this profession so you can see all the different types of hearing loss and how many people out there that has been struggling with hearing difficulties as well. So yeah, it's definitely not something that you're experiencing alone, and there are others out there experiencing something similar like you.
Yeah. Definitely thankful to be in this course. I was completely overwhelmed with the amount of support from my colleagues and my cohort, knowing that when I said it, people just were like, oh, okay. That was it. That was their reaction. So I had it in my head that everyone was going to be, oh my God, you wear hearing aids? But no, it was completely opposite. So having that has definitely helped me come out more about my hearing loss and being able to be comfortable about talking about it. Definitely thankful for being in this course.
Wow. Thank you so much, Avalia, for sharing your story with us today. It was very inspiring and insightful. I'm sure our listeners would have really appreciated your openness and the advice that you've given us.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. It's been a blast. Yeah, I'm so glad I could share my experience with you all. Yeah, it's amazing.
All right, so thank you to our listeners for tuning in to Inner Ear Secrets. Next time, we'll be talking about some of the biggest audiology myths, so make sure you tune in then. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and make sure you follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Inner Ear Secrets Pod. And you can also find us on YouTube as well. Until next time, take care of your hearing and keep listening.